Director of the First Time Commission of San Diego. Today's workshop, which is Public and Philanthropic Partnerships, Magnifying Impact, really promises to be a great beginning of dialogue as we explore how public and private entities can work together to find new solutions to community problems and really look at seeking opportunities for collaboration between government and philanthropy. Really quickly, I'll introduce our speakers and then hand it over to our moderator. We have Aileen Adams, welcome. And Aileen has extensive administrative and public sector experience spanning 3 decades, and she's currently the Deputy Mayor of Office of Strategic Partnerships for Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. And then we have Mary Herron, welcome. And Mary is a trustee of the Parker Foundation and Chair, San Diego Grantmakers Homeless Working Group. And then we have Molly Cartmill, Director, Government Programs. Molly's charged with managing political contributions, the company's Employee Political Action Committee, political reporting and compliance and corporate social responsibility at Sempra Energy. And last but not least, I will turn it over to our moderator speaker, which is Mark Sedway, Project Director for Philanthropy Awareness Initiative.
What we want to do is give me context for this conversation based on the research from the Philanthropy Awareness Initiative. The purpose of this temporary project is to research how foundations are perceived and how foundations can in turn do a better job of communicating value and engaging with influential Americans. Picture 3 concentric circles. The big one is the general public. And then a much smaller concentric circle, which is what we call engaged Americans. That's the 12% of adult Americans who served on a community or social organization board, or been a staff leader, or been a volunteer. So one of the things we found, big finding, awareness deficit, only 15% could give an example of a foundation's impact on their community. Only 38% could name a foundation on the first try. And only 2 in 10 received news about the foundation's response to the economic downturn. That's not to say that foundations didn't have a response, it's that they didn't communicate about it. We think it's not an exaggeration to say that philanthropy, organized philanthropy, faces the makings of a perfect political storm where low awareness meets high and increasing scrutiny. Now, scrutiny in and of itself isn't the problem, it's uninformed scrutiny. And of course, it's not as if a legislator is going to say, well, I don't really understand this particular issue, I'm not going to have an opinion on it. But there's a programmatic aspect to this too. If you look at 2009 federal government expenditure, and you compare that to what foundations gave away in 2009, it's like comparing the Sears Tower to a 2-story building. There's also a reservoir of good faith, good news, that foundations have favorability ratings that politicians would envy. 76% would consider it a loss to their community if foundations no longer existed. We also found that those engaged Americans who had some kind of contact with foundations, some experience with foundations. It could be they served on the board all the way to they participated in a convening sponsored by a foundation. Of those, 61% think foundations are effective. Of those without any contact, 39% think foundations are effective. So the more engaged Americans know you, the more they like you. We asked, do you think foundations should focus their grants on new and better ways of solving problems? That was 50% was the answer. They answered yes in 2006. By 2009, that was 79%. This is a dramatic leap in the number of engaged Americans who are looking to foundations to be finders and funders of social innovation. They also want you to speak up. They think foundations should be more open about activities, mistakes, and lessons learned. And we found that 50% of these engaged Americans think that foundations have too little influence on public discussion at local, state, and national levels, and only 13% disagree with that. The rest think it's just right. And then finally, we want you to stand apart. 6 in 10 oppose stricter government controls on foundations, but the percentage who are supporting stricter government controls went from 19% to 29% between 2006 and 2009, so that's increasing. Why is this topic important to you? And there were a couple of questions about examples. What's the story about partnerships?
Well, this topic is my passion. I had the Office for Strategic Partnerships for Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. I'm the deputy mayor, so I go to all the senior staff meetings, and I'm the connector between the city of Los Angeles and foundations and nonprofits. We're half funded by foundations. So there are 3 foundations, Amundsen, Weingart, and Annenberg, which fund half of our office. The other half is funded by the city. So it's a real public-private partnership within government. the first of its kind ever in the city. We've created a national model through something called Summer Night Lights. We have 400 gangs in Los Angeles, probably the most massive gang problem in the country. So what we decided to do was to take back the parks with the help of the police and community groups, and we have poured a lot of public-private money into taking back 24 parks. This initiative is half funded by government and half funded by foundations who are at the table with us strategizing about the most effective ways of moving forward. They are not just ATMs, they are part of the strategy process. And this program could not exist without them. We just received the crime statistics for those areas, gang violence down by 40%. This is an example of a public-private partnership that is changing the face of Los Angeles and really having a dramatic impact on crime. And it would not exist if it weren't for the collaboration between government and foundations. It simply would not be there.
We're advocating for programs that serve homeless people, and both on a broad scale and a smaller scale. Our advocacy involves one-on-one connections. It involves showing up.
What I found is that elected officials and just policymakers in general do want to know what you know. Most policymakers, if not all policymakers, would really appreciate and this is exactly what Aileen brought up, appreciate having that knowledge and that understanding that you've gained kind of from having finger on the pulse, ear to the ground, that kind of thing.
Let's zero in on relationships and the how you build relationships. What are some advice, some specific tactics that you would suggest?
I would just add, I think too that you need to get on the distribution list of the policymaker. All of their newsletters, all of the mayor's alerts, all of those things, because sometimes it'll stimulate. If you actually look at those things, you'll see something. You'll see that point of opportunity where you can write back or you can seek a meeting because you saw that particular official was working on something. And I think it's got to be two-way. Like, you need to be listening to what's going on in their realm, in their world.
What I've noticed about the three of you is that you're all very focused on relationships. For me, that's the exclamation point, and especially in learning about